Hello, I'm Ken Butler, and welcome to Talladega Superspeedway, where you're about to see the greatest drivers in the world run the Aaron's 499. On behalf of the more than 6,000 associates, I bring to you our top drivers in the United States of America, and they're going to tell you why we're running the Aaron's 499.
Welcome back to Talladega, where today it's the Aaron's 499 on Fox for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. The 43 cars in the field will be paced by Ricky Rudd, Budweiser official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsor of the Bud Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier in each race. And Rudd joins this group as Pole Award winners of 2004 and moves into the Budweiser shootout of 05. There's a look at the driver of the Wood Brothers Ford. The Wood Brothers have gone to victory lane 5 times here at Talladega. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, and the Wood Brothers' 54-year history, they've now won 119 career poles after Ricky Rudd's run on Friday. 1 week ago, Rusty Wallace broke a 3-year winless streak. Today, Rudd tries to end an even longer drought. He's never won a restrictor plate race in 65 previous tries. The Wood Brothers brought out their traditional red and white colors with the gold numbers. It rekindled their pole qualifying efforts. Now they hope it rekindles their old big track success and score their 6th Talladega win later today. To the editor of Speedway Illustrated, Dr. Dick Bergman.
Elliott Sadler has had an up and down time of things here at Talladega of late. On the upside, in this race last year, he finished 3rd, qualified 12th for today's race. But on the downside, in the final practice yesterday, his engine seized up. The engine change means he had to start all the way in the back today. But it could be worse. And last fall, it got worse. It got a whole lot worse. As Elliott, going for the lead, end over end, side over side, it was a 1 car, the big one. Another angle. He was okay. But it was a Talladega quality crash. Jeff Hammond, you've really got to be able to see out of these cars to avoid a situation like that.
Dick, today at Talladega, because of all these new safety restraints, the headrest, head and neck restraint that goes with the drivers, they depend a whole lot on the mirror, being able to see with a little small mirror who's on the inside of you, as well as the rear view mirror to tell you who's behind you. In the event you don't have the mirrors where you want them, you've got guys called spotters who will be very important today to keep the guys out of trouble, and communicating with their spotters is very critical here at Talladega. And if they don't, Steve Burns, what will happen?
Well, Jeff, we just saw an example with Elliott Sadler. We'll see 3 wide racing, 8 rows deep for 500 miles. Thrilling for those of you at home to watch, awe-inspiring for those of us on pit road and in the booth to talk about. But the drivers know that type of racing will inevitably produce a multi-car wreck known as the big one.
It's very scary. You just hope you can make it through it okay. You hope all your fellow competitors are going to make it through it okay. And
Talladega is a track that we run that's very, very hard mentally to run because you don't have much control.
The key to avoiding the big wreck is to never start it.
Trouble, turn 1. Newman almost flipped over.
whether it's a tire going down like Newman last year, a wreck is going to happen here. You just hope you're in the right place at the right time.
You basically got one chance to make your choice. Sometimes it's the right one, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
If a wreck does start, you will have a multiple car wreck.
It's going to be 10 or more cars involved.
It's better to be up front, and that's why you'll see people, the top 5, top 10 cars, fall in single file order and just try to get to the end of the race.
And if I lead every lap, then the chances of me getting in a wreck are pretty slim, so it's really important to try to stay ahead of the mess.
From once the wreck starts to the time the wreck ends, feels like a long, long time.
Oh, trouble, guys.
But it's something drivers really don't talk about much of it. You can wreck and it makes a lot of noise, and you got fear and everything going through you. So it's real dramatic out there, and it's something that you're just not thinking about how I'm wrecking and what it feels like.
And while you're watching at home with your family, your friends, and loved ones, keep in mind that these brave racers today are also fathers, sons, and in many cases, husbands. Jeannie Zelasco has more on that.
Absolutely. And speaking of someone who has a husband out here today, Linda Rudd, we think about the families and what do? You come to Talladega. Do you have a moment of peace here?
Well, I did because I didn't come here until this morning. But it's really not too bad. It's just really what you make it. Now, when he's out on the racetrack, that's another story. I think your mind's going the whole time. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but I feel a lot better. I'm looking out here and I see those safer barrier walls this year, so that gives me a little peace. And then I'll just hold my breath for about 2.5 hours.
All right, well, you certainly got the voice of experience. This will be the 55th race she's watched her husband partake in at Talladega. Guys?
Thanks, Jeannie. There's Ricky Rudd at work. He will start from the pole. Mike Joy with Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip. The ribbons that we wear memorialize Ken Patterson, who was mentioned in the invocation, the late PR director here at Talladega Superspeedway. 11 of 69 races here have been won with a last lap pass. Darrell, so how do you put yourself in a position to win here?
If we're in the car with the driver and we've got the in-car camera where we can see the driver, watch his eyes. He's never really focusing on what's straight in front of him. He's always checking his mirrors, looking at what's going on behind him. You got to play defense. You got to be defensive. You got to block, and that gets you in trouble sometime. The other thing you got to do is be able to get on pit road without locking up the tires or breaking the speed limit.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen what one car making a mistake can do to the whole field of cars or half the field of cars. But remember, we're running those smaller fuel cells here, so that means we're going to be making twice as many pit stops. We can't speed on pit road. We got to make the right decisions, 2 tires, 4 tires, fuel only. And I'll watch Ricky Rudd in that in-car camera shot. He's not going to assume anyone is going to remind him of pit road speed. When he got his pit road speed, he reached up there with a Sharpie and wrote the RPMs on the dash. Can't make any mistakes.
Now let's not dwell on the big one. 2 of the last 7 spring races at Talladega have been caution-free. The field is in the 33-degree banking of turn 3, awaiting the green flag this time around. And they're on a little bit of a hurry-up start here because there is rain to the west and on the way, though hopefully not until after race time. 500 or 499 miles, 188 laps.
There you see the pit window. We talked about the 13.5-gallon fuel cells, 30 to 35 laps. Lots of pit stops today.
They head for the tri-oval, where at Daytona, which is similarly configured but a little bit shorter, that's where the start-finish line is, right dead center of pit road. Here the start-finish line, as Darrell told you, is down toward turn number 1, so they got a ways to go before we get going.
Well, DW, it'll take us about a lap to get up to speed. Next time by, lap 1 will be over 195 miles per hour. Reach up there and pull them belts tight one more time.
Boogity, 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 boys, let's go racing.
Unlike a lot of racetracks, we'll see side-by-side racing. There's not a preferred groove. It's where the best cars are that's the preferred groove.
Dead heat at the front row. Dead heat. Looks like the pace lap.
Pretty much it till you get up to speed and see who's going to be cheating who.
Looks like that outside line, though, with Michael Waltrip in the 15 car, Joe Nemechek in the 01. Got a good run down the backstretch off turn 2. Ricky Rudd would like to lead this first lap. He has not led a lap this year yet.
15 car looks awfully strong. He qualified up on the outside front row there, so he's going to be hard to handle, I think.
Pulls down to the inside in front of Ricky Rudd. He was so good yesterday, he completely skipped the final practice session.
Yeah, I talked to Michael last night, and he said the car was just awesome. He said he's just looking forward to today.
Joe Nemechek leads the outside line. Ricky Rudd the inside line behind Michael Waltrip, who was able to put a little distance on the field as they came back to the line.
That'll all change. I mean, basically, you got to think he's a sitting duck out there. You get out that far, and these cats get back here, get a run.
Nose, you're clear high, clear high.
As long as he can keep them stacked up behind him, it's a lot like the race he won here last year. Kind of moves one side to the other.
Jeff Gordon working the middle, now pulls up behind Greg Biffle on the outside.
What we saw yesterday in the Busch race, a little different aero package. The middle really didn't work that well unless you had a good line of cars lined up to push you up through there.
If you get a good run, you can go up through there, but you got to be able to go left or right when you get it. You'll run out of steam going up the middle, and then if you can move into one of the lines, it's okay.
And we're riding with Rusty Wallace in the Miller Lite car, the 2 car. Now he's been running the high line the last few laps, trying to get a group of cars behind him. Ryan Vickers right now, the 25 is behind him, but there's not a lot of help with him.
That looked like spatters of oil on Jeff Gordon's in-car lens. Joe Nemechek has powered around the outside to the front. Nemechek also had a good day in yesterday's Aaron's 312 Busch race.
When you can get that almost like slingshot at the end of the straightaway and you can swing to the outside, you can make a pass.
Nemechek and Mark Martin are the front twosome.
We've been expecting the Hendrick car to be over strong.
Smoker turns.
Looks like Ricky Craven, the 32 car.
All right, Bo, got a lot of smoke, got a yellow.
Craven had dropped well back as you see the smoke from the left rear of his Tide Chevrolet.
They get those engines for the restrictor plate races from Richard Childress Racing.
It's definitely engines. That's coming out the exhaust pipe that exits right there in front of the right rear tire.
Internal problems, usually not correctable within the scope of a 500-mile race. We're under the first caution of the day.